The galaxy had forgotten fear. For thousands of years, no enemy had challenged the great empires. No dark force rose from the void. No ancient power returned to shake the stars. But in the forgotten corners of old worlds, in the huts of mountain tribes, and in the temples of silent deserts, the elders kept one story alive, a story that nobody wanted to hear. They spoke of human fury. Not the humans of soft legends. Not the explorers who once traveled with peace. No. The elders spoke of humans who changed when they were pushed too far. Humans who became a storm. They spoke of a power that made the stars tremble, a will that burned brighter than suns, and a fury that no empire could survive. But nobody listened. Civilizations laughed. Governments mocked. Scholars dismissed it as myth. Humans vanished 9,000 years ago, they said. No species returns after that long. If they had such power, where are they now? For ages, the warnings were ignored. Then, one quiet night, the stars began to flicker. Across the galaxy, in the peaceful Etro system, a patrol ship drifted on its usual route. The crew expected nothing unusual. Their scanners showed empty space, silent asteroids, and cold light from the twin suns. But then, one of the suns dimmed for a second. Only a second. A single blink. But it was enough to make the ship's alarm scream. Captain Roan stood from his chair, eyes fixed on the star outside the window. He felt a strange pressure in the air, like something old and powerful had taken a breath. "Report," he ordered. "Captain," the sensor officer whispered. The star didn't lose power. Something passed in front of it. Roan frowned. There were no planets in that position. No stations. No ships. What size reading? The officer hesitated. Then his voice cracked. "Sir, it was the size of a moon." A silence colder than vacuum filled the bridge. Before anyone could speak, the star flickered again. But this time, it wasn't a shadow. It was a pulse. A wave of energy that rolled across the system like a silent scream. Every screen on the patrol ship went dark. The power died. The lights faded. The engines froze. The ship drifted helplessly. And then, outside the window, the stars moved. Not because they were shifting, but because something massive, something impossible, was passing through the void. A shape emerged. A blurred outline. A structure so gigantic it looked like a mountain drifting through space. It had no lights. No visible engines. No markings. Only a slow, steady glow deep within its surface. Like a sleeping heart preparing to wake. One of the younger crew members began to cry. "What is that?" he whispered. No one answered. Because none of them had ever seen anything like it. No species had. No empire had built such a thing. It wasn't a ship. It was too large. It wasn't a station. It was moving. And then, a low hum began to spin through the empty space. Not a sound. A vibration. A pulse that rattled the bones of everyone aboard. It felt ancient. Heavy. A presence that didn't belong to the peaceful era of the galaxy. Captain Roan felt something he had never felt in his life. Fear. What could build something like that? Someone whispered. And suddenly, in Roan's mind, he remembered the old stories. The ones he heard as a child. The ones people laughed at. Humans. But he pushed the thought away. It was impossible. Humans were gone. Their worlds were dust. Their records lost in time. And yet, the giant shape drifting before him felt like an answer to a question he never asked. The power returned to the ship all at once. Lights flashed. Screens restarted. Engines roared back to life. But the massive object was gone. Like it never existed. Except the star. The star continued to flicker. Across the galaxy, signals burst through the interstellar network. Reports of similar sightings came from at least 7 regions. Stars dimming. Shadows passing. Systems going silent for minutes. At first, leaders dismissed it as solar activity. A natural cycle. A harmless phenomenon. But then, an entire sector went dark. 5 worlds. 3 trade routes. 1 science station. No communication. No signals. No survivors. The Council of Worlds gathered in panic. Scientists argued. Military commanders shouted. No one understood what they were facing. Then the doors opened. An elder entered the chamber, the oldest living being in the galaxy. His steps were slow. His eyes carried centuries of warnings that no one ever took seriously. He looked at the council with a sadness deeper than space itself. You ignored us, he said softly. You mocked the old stories. But they were not stories. The council fell silent. The elder pointed toward the stars visible through the chamber window. They are not dimming by accident, he said. They are falling. Falling? A commander asked. Why? Who is doing this? The elder took a long breath. My people tried to warn you, he whispered. This is the return of a force you should never have provoked. Every heart in the chamber froze. The elder's voice shook as he spoke the final words. Humans are awakening. The galaxy did not sleep after the elder's warning. Every empire, every military fleet, every station in deep space turned its eyes toward the dark. Scanners reached farther than ever. Patrol ships doubled their routes. Civilizations whispered the same fearful question. If humans are awakening, where are they? 4 days, there was silence. Then the first star fell. In the Varney system, a single blue-white star had shone for millions of years. Its light powered 8 worlds. Its warmth fed farms, cities, and floating colonies. Generations lived beneath that gentle glow. But on this day, the star trembled. The people of Varnes did not notice at first. The change was too small, too fast. Pilots kept flying. Students kept studying. Miners kept working in the asteroid belts. Then, without warning, the sky dimmed. On the surface of Varnes, 3 children paused their games. Workers stopped in the streets. Families looked up, confused. The sun was fading, not like a sunset, not like clouds. It was being swallowed by something invisible. The world went silent. Then every device on the planet shut down. Lights died. Engines froze. Comms collapsed. Weapons deactivated. Planes dropped from the sky. Ships drifted in the oceans. Factories fell still. It was as if a giant hand had closed around the entire system and squeezed the life out of it. Panic erupted. What is happening? Is this an attack? Why can't the generators start? Where are the emergency fleets? No answers came. Because the entire Varnese military fleet was losing power too. On the flagship Vanguard Spear, Admiral the Sand grabbed the railing as the deck shook. Screens flickered. Control consoles sparked. The engine cores vibrated like dying hearts. Report! The Sand shouted. What is draining the star? The technicians struggled to read their monitors as they flashed on and off. We don't know, one cried. It's like something is pulling energy away from the sun itself. From the star. The Sand whispered. Who can do that? The answer came moments later. A drone camera, floating in the outer system, captured a dark outline. The image was grainy, distorted by radiation. But the shape was unmistakable. A massive object drifting close to the star. Motionless. Silent. Black against the burning light. No markings. No lights. No identified origin. Just a giant presence sitting beside the sun like a watcher. The technicians enhanced the image. The bridge fell silent. It wasn't a station. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't even a known alien structure. It was a ship. A ship larger than any planet-born race could build. A ship so big, the star's light bent around it. A ship that made the Varnese flagship look like a grain of sand. Admiral the Sand felt his throat tighten. Is this, he whispered, is this human? Before anyone could answer, the star dimmed again. This time, it didn't come back. Across the galaxy, the council chamber shook with incoming alerts. One after another, panic transmissions filled the air. Varnes, 3 is losing power. The whole system is dark. A massive ship is near the star. We can't reach our fleets. Send help. We are losing everything. The council members shouted over each other. Strategies collapsed. Fear spread like fire. What kind of ship drains a star? No species has this power. This is beyond science. Only the elder remained calm. He closed his eyes, listening to the terrified voices. It has begun, he whispered. What has begun? A council leader demanded. The elder opened his ancient eyes. The human awakening. Their return to the stars. Long ago they built ships that no other species understood. Engines that fed on light. Hulls that resisted gravity. Minds that could speak to the universe itself. The chamber fell silent. Humans did not vanish, the elder continued. They hid. They slept, waiting for something that was taken from them. Back in the darkened Varney system, Admiral the Sand watched helplessly as the star's light slowly returned, but weaker than before, as if frightened. Then the massive ship moved. Not forward. Not backward. It shifted its orientation, turning toward the inner planets, like an eye opening. Then a signal hit every ship, every device, every mind in the system. It wasn't sound. It wasn't language. It was a pulse, heavy with meaning. A single message. Where is it? The crew froze. Where is what? The Sand whispered. What are they looking for? Before anyone could react, the giant vessel vanished. Not by warp. Not by jump. Not by speed. It simply faded, like a shadow swallowed by the dark. The power returned. The star stabilized. But the fear remained. Admiral the Sand looked at the fading light of the sun and knew with absolute certainty. This was only the beginning. The humans were not drifting. They were searching. And somewhere in the galaxy, something was hidden from them. Something they wanted back. Across the stars, the elder's final words echoed in every mind. You thought the prophecy was a warning. It was not. It was a countdown. The Varney system had barely recovered from the star-draining event when new reports spread across the galaxy like wildfire. 7 other systems reported the same thing. Stars dimming. Ships losing power. Huge shadows drifting through space. And then nothing. No messages. No answers. No attacks. Just a silent presence that moved from star to star as if searching for something lost long ago. And every sighting carried the same terrifying feeling. Someone was looking. On the world of Lorik Prime, Commander Viral stood on a rooftop platform, staring at the early night sky. The city lights shone bright below him, but his eyes were locked on the heavens. A strange glow was spreading across the atmosphere. Not sunlight. Not any known cosmic event. It looked like a faint curtain of shifting silver drifting above the clouds. His assistant, Rhea, arrived breathless. Commander, we picked up something new. Not a ship. Not energy. Something bigger. Viral didn't look away from the sky. I know, he said quietly. It's already here. Rhea followed his gaze and froze. A colossal shadow was descending through the clouds. Slow. Silent. Impossible. The shadow wasn't falling. It was arriving, like a continent-sized vessel pushing through a veil. Lightning danced across its shape, revealing metallic ridges and ancient plating. The air around it shivered, bending the clouds into spirals. Nearby ships scrambled away in panic, but their thrusters sputtered. The shadow disabled everything within range without firing a single shot. Lorik Prime was a strong world. A proud world. But every living being below felt the same cold truth. This was a human vessel. Not a cruiser. Not a battleship. A relic of an age beyond anything modern races could imagine. Even through the haze of atmosphere, the scale was overwhelming. Kilometers long. Tall as mountains. Dark as the void. The ship hovered above the capital city, blotting out the stars. Children cried. Citizens fled indoors. Leaders yelled in fear. But Commander Viral simply bowed his head. It's them, he whispered. The stories were true. Inside the Lorik Command Hall, chaos exploded. Screens flickered. Alarms howled. Officials shouted over each other. Why is it here? Are we under attack? Can we speak with it? Can anyone read its moves? The senior counselor slammed his fists on the table. Send the entire defense fleet. Every fighter. What if that angers them? Another shouted. They drained a star. Our fleets won't stop them. The Elder's final warning, humans are awakening, repeated in every mind. Fear grew like a living thing. Only one voice in the hall stayed calm. Silence. The command center froze. The Elder had arrived. His robes brushed the metal floor as he moved forward, his face carved with a grief only ancient beings carried. He pointed toward the massive shape above the city. That is not a warship, he said. Not a warship, the counselor barked. It's the size of an entire city. It is a scanner, the Elder whispered. A seeker. It is reading every soul, every mind, every life on this world. A chill spread through the hall. What are they searching for? Viral asked slowly. The Elder met his eyes. Something that was stolen. Something sacred. A tremor rolled across the sky as if the giant vessel responded to those words. Down on the streets, citizens watched in terror as the ship released a beam, thin, white, soft as moonlight. It drifted across buildings, across towers, across people. But nothing was harmed. Instead, the beam moved with purpose, like a giant hand touching every corner of the city to check for a missing child. When the beam passed over Viral, he felt something strange, like a memory that didn't belong to him. A whisper. A heartbeat. A distant voice that carried weight older than time. He gasped and staggered back. The beam moved on. What was that? Rhea asked. I don't know, Viral answered. But it felt human. Above them, the massive vessel adjusted its angle. Its shadow shifted. Then a voice echoed across every speaker, every comm device, every ship, every mind. Not loud. Not angry. Not foreign. A simple voice. You hit it. Comm officers scrambled. Who is speaking? Where is the signal coming from? Is it the ship itself? Is this a threat? The voice returned. You hid what belongs to us. The ground vibrated with the weight of the words. Return it, or the stars will fall. Silence. Then the beam retracted. The air shimmered. The huge outline began to turn. It wasn't moving away. It was choosing its next destination. Viral stared upward, trembling. It wasn't here to attack, he whispered. It was asking. Rhea swallowed hard. Asking for what? Viral looked at the Elder, who answered with dread. Their lost creation. Their stolen core. The heart of their return. The Elder lifted his eyes toward the fading shadow. And now, he whispered, the humans will search every world, every star, every civilization, until they find it. Across the galaxy, leaders watched the footage from Lorik Prime with shaking hands. The human shadow had shown itself, not as conqueror, not as destroyer, as a seeker, a reminder, a warning. And every civilization suddenly understood one terrible truth. The thing humans were searching for was still somewhere in the galaxy, and whoever possessed it was running out of time. The galaxy now lived in fear of shadows. Not alien armies, not invading fleets, but human ships, ancient, silent, and far more powerful than anything alive in the present age. Wherever they passed, stars dimmed, worlds shook. Civilizations froze in terror, and every time they appeared, the same message echoed. Return what you stole. No one knew what it was. No one wanted to admit they had any idea. But one world did know. One world had carried the burden for centuries. And now, that secret was beginning to crack. Far from Lorik Prime, hidden deep inside a cluster of red dwarf stars, lay the world of Karthus 9. It was a quiet planet, cold and rocky, with no great cities, no rich trade, no powerful armies. But beneath its surface, a chamber older than the planet itself pulsed slowly in the dark. The Karthus Council had guarded that chamber for 600 years. Only 5 people alive knew what was inside it, and every one of them feared the same thing. Humans would someday come looking for it. That day had arrived. In the underground council hall, Chancellor Kever slammed his hands on the ancient stone table. We can't hide it anymore, he shouted. The human ships are moving closer. They have scanned 7 systems in our sector. General Rither stood opposite him, calm but tense. If we reveal the artifact, he said, The galaxy will fall into panic. Better panic than destruction. Kever snapped. The old historian, Marilla, lifted her trembling voice. You all forget the truth. We never stole the artifact. Our ancestors found it. Lost. Buried in an asteroid. They didn't know what it was. General Rither turned to her. But humans know, he said. And they want it. A cold silence filled the room. Marilla slowly sat down, fear in her eyes. They will stop searching only when they recover it, she whispered. Kever rubbed his forehead. What if they take more than that? What if they judge us for having it? Then we pray, Marilla said, that humans are as forgiving as the legends claim. But even she did not believe those legends anymore. Far above Karthis 9, alarms erupted across the orbital defense stations. A soldier on duty stared at his radar, frozen. Sir, something is entering the system. Is it a fleet? The commander asked. The young soldier shook his head, pale. No, sir. It's just one. But it's big. Too big. How big? The soldier swallowed hard. Sir, it's the size of a small moon. The commander's blood went cold. Prepare full defense. But it was too late. A shadow appeared behind the red dwarf star. A massive human vessel drifted through the light, its dark hull rippling like a living night sky. It made no sound, no threat, no signal. But everyone who saw it felt like the universe's heartbeat had stopped for a moment. The ship turned toward Karthis 9. Slow, precise, purposeful. They had arrived. Beneath the planet's surface, the council felt the tremor. They found us, Kever whispered. General Rither activated the lifts. We must go to the chamber, he said. Now. They hurried through a maze of tunnels, carved by hands long dead. The deeper they went, the thicker the air became. A faint energy pulsed through the walls, like a warning. Finally, they reached a vast metal door covered in symbols older than any known language. Marilla approached it with shaking hands. This door, she whispered, was not built by our people. Rither nodded. No, it was human. She pressed her palm to the center. The metal vibrated. The symbols glowed. The door slowly opened. Inside lay a hollow room filled with pale blue light. Floating at its center was a sphere, metallic, smooth, humming with power. The artifact. It was small, barely the size of a helmet. Yet it felt heavier than a star. Alive. Awake. The council members stared in silence. Kever whispered the question all of them feared. What does it do? Marilla answered, voice thick with dread. It is a human core. A seed of their knowledge, their memory, their fury. General Rither stepped forward. We must hand it over, before they take it by force. But Marilla shook her head. You don't understand. Once they take it, they will remember everything. All their wars, all their enemies, all their pain. She looked at the artifact with sorrow. And then nothing can stop them. The ground trembled. Lights flickered. The human ship had arrived above the exact chamber they stood in. The metal walls vibrated as if responding to a call. The artifact pulsed brighter. Kever stepped back. It's reacting to them. Rither grabbed his weapon. We must make a choice. Return it, or destroy it. Marilla's eyes widened. Destroy it? You fool. If we destroy a human core. A blast shook the entire chamber. The ceiling cracked. Dust rained down. A deep, distant hum echoed through the tunnels, the sound of a human ship opening a channel through the planet's crust. They're coming, Rither said. Kever stared at the glowing sphere. We can't hide it. We can't destroy it. We must face them. The ground split. A white beam descended from above, cutting through stone like soft sand. The council shielded their eyes. The beam spread across the chamber. And then, for the first time in thousands of years, a human voice echoed through the room. Return the core. Your time to choose has ended. The artifact lifted itself from the air and began floating toward the beam. Above the planet, the massive ship opened a glowing corridor, waiting for the core to return home. Whatever happened next, The galaxy would never be the same. The message hit every world at the same moment. Not a second late. Not a second early. A perfect wave of sound and light that crossed star systems like someone had sliced the galaxy open and poured thunder through it. It did not come from any known relay. It did not follow any communication path. It simply appeared, inside the minds of every living being. For a heartbeat, the entire galaxy froze. Commander Roller stood on the bridge of the Varkan defense flagship when the signal struck. His crew clutched their heads, eyes wide, voices shaking as the same words echoed through every mind. The prophecy has started. The human ship is moving. Run! Roller's scales went cold. He had heard old stories, ancient warnings from forgotten times, but they were always treated as jokes. Nursery tales. Scare stories for cadets. The humans, according to myth, were long gone. Their ships were dust. Their worlds empty. Their technology buried under collapsed star lanes and ruined sectors. But this message, this voice, it felt real. It felt alive. It felt dangerous. Get me the long-range scans. Roller shouted, shaking off the ringing in his skull. The ship sensors flickered, struggling to stabilize after the mental impact. Finally, the main screen formed a blurry image. A star system. Dark. Silent. Forgotten. In its center, something moved. At first, it looked like a broken asteroid drifting on a dead orbit. But then the object ignited with a blue-white glow, energy signatures far beyond anything the galaxy had ever recorded. Roller's breath caught. That's impossible. The ship matched no known design, no modern engineering, no active culture. It was old. Too old. A relic from a time when stars were still young. But it was turning, awakening, powering up like a sleeping titan stretching after thousands of years. And the scans showed something else. It was headed toward populated space. In the Senate Hall of the High Council, chaos erupted. Dozens of species argued, shouted, panicked. Translators struggled to keep up with the flood of fear. This must be a trick. No one survived from those times. The prophecy was fiction. We must prepare a weapon. We must run. We must hide. The Speaker of the Council slammed her staff on the floor, echoing through the chamber. Silence. It worked. For only a moment. We received the same message as everyone else, she said. We cannot ignore it. But it came from nowhere, a senator cried. How can we fight something that speaks inside our minds? We must send a fleet, another said. Something powerful. Something fast. The chamber dimmed suddenly as the display walls lit up. A surveillance feed began playing. Automatic. Raw. Unedited. The human ship filled the screen. It moved with unnatural precision, gliding across dead space like a blade cutting water. Its hull still looked ancient, covered in scars, blackened plates, and strange runes that no scholar could translate. But the power readings, they rose every second. Higher, and higher, and higher. The ship was not just waking up. It was charging. The speaker's voice trembled for the first time. If this is truly the vessel from the prophecy, then nothing in this galaxy can stop it. Far from the council, on a small desert moon, an old hermit named Saran opened his eyes. He had heard the message too, but unlike everyone else, he did not fear it. He had been waiting for years, decades, for the prophecy to show signs of life. And now, finally, the moment he had prepared for had arrived. He stepped outside his hut, looking up at the twin suns setting on the horizon. The sky crackled with strange energy, like lightning trying to escape the atmosphere. It has begun, Saran whispered. Inside his hut, he lifted a rusted metal case. It clicked open, revealing a sphere of ancient human design. Smooth, silver, humming faintly. He had protected it since childhood. Now it was waking. The sphere projected a small blue hologram, forming a rotating map of the galaxy. A single red point flashed, growing brighter every second. The human ship's location. The voice inside the sphere spoke in a language no one else remembered, but Saran understood it. The Guardian stirs. Prepare the path. Warn them. Saran tightened his grip. I will, he whispered. I promise. He knew the truth the galaxy never accepted. The human ship was not created for war. It was created for protection. But the prophecy had one more line everyone always ignored. If darkness rises, the Guardian wakes. But if the galaxy stands in its way, the Guardian will not hesitate. Across the galaxy, fear grew. Fleets armed themselves. Races prepared bunkers. Worlds locked down. Pirate clans fled into deep void space. Everyone waited. Everyone watched. Everyone feared the same thing. What would happen when the human ship reached inhabited space? Because now, finally, after thousands of years, it was coming, and nothing could stop it. The galaxy had never agreed on anything before. Not on treaties. Not on borders. Not on trade. Not even on peace. But now, every species, every empire, every hidden faction, shared one single fear. The human ship. And fear brought unity. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy built a joint defense fleet. More than 600 warships gathered in one place. Battleships, carriers, interceptors, dreadnoughts, ion-speared cruisers, stealth destroyers, and machines older than some stars. They formed a ring of metal and fire around the dark region the human ship was moving through. Commander Roller stood on the bridge of his flagship, eyes fixed on the holomap. "Is the formation complete?" he asked. "Yes, Commander," his officer replied. "Every fleet is in position. Nothing can get through." Roller didn't answer. Because deep inside, he knew the truth no one else wanted to accept. Nothing could stop something that had been made by humans. The human ship drifted forward like a ghost. No engine trail. No communication. No sign of life. Yet its movement was perfect. Too perfect. Every second, it adjusted its path with surgical accuracy. As it approached the blockade line, alarms exploded across every ship. Energy spike. Unidentified field expanding. What is this? It's rewriting our scan data. Our sensors are blind. We're losing targeting. Roller's heart dropped. The human ship wasn't attacking. It was simply there, and its presence alone was breaking the rules of physics. "Hold positions," Roller ordered. "Do not fire." But it was too late. Fear moved faster than orders. A small cruiser on the outer line panicked and launched a plasma spear. The blazing blue projectile crossed space in a straight line, heading directly for the ancient human vessel. Everyone watched. Everyone waited. The plasma spear hit the ship's hull and vanished. Not exploded. Not deflected. Not absorbed. It simply blinked out of existence, like it had never been fired. Silence fell across every channel of the combined fleet. Then the sensors screamed again. "The ship, it's scanning us," an officer whispered. One by one, every ship systems flickered. Lights dimmed. Power cores stuttered. Weapons jammed. Engines trembled. Then a soft hum spread through the void, vibrating through every hull. A voice followed. A voice older than any empire. A human voice. "Stand down." The combined fleet froze. They weren't hearing it through speakers. They weren't hearing it through comms. They were hearing it inside their minds, the same as the prophecy message. Roller felt the voice like a cold breath against his spine. It did not feel angry. It did not feel violent. It felt disappointed. "This path is not yours." The human ship glowed with bright white lines that slowly lit up its hull, ancient symbols waking one after another. The ship wasn't attacking. It was issuing a warning. And a promise. Move. The fleet braced for destruction. But nothing happened. The ship simply passed through the blockade line. Not around it. Not over it. Directly through it. Ships shifted aside on their own, pushed gently by a force they could not see. No collisions happened. No systems exploded. The human vessel moved as if the entire fleet were made of dust and light. Roller stared in disbelief. What is it heading toward? His officer swallowed hard. Toward the Council Core. Straight through every major sector. In the Senate Hall, panic became terror. "It's coming for us. We must activate the planet shields. We should evacuate. What does it want? Why didn't the fleet stop it? We need more ships now. The speaker slammed her staff again. Stop shouting. We need answers. A scientist ran forward, shaking. We translated more of the prophecy, he said, breathing heavily. There is a second message, one that the galaxy ignored for generations. Read it, the speaker demanded. The scientist raised a tablet with trembling hands. When the Guardian wakes, do not stand in its path, for it sees farther than any counsel. It hears dangers you cannot. It follows a threat older than your wars, and it will not stop until the danger is gone. Silence. Cold, crushing silence. The speaker's voice cracked. So the ship isn't coming to destroy us? We don't know, the scientist answered. But something else is coming. Something the ship was built to face. And if we block its path again... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Everyone understood. Far across the galaxy, on his lonely desert moon, Saran watched the stars flicker unnaturally. The air trembled. The ground vibrated. The sphere in his hand glowed brighter than ever before. The Guardian has crossed the blockade, the sphere said. The final phase begins. Saran whispered to himself. Then the darkness must already be on its way. Because the human ship was not the threat. It was the warning. And the real enemy, the one the galaxy had never seen, was almost here. 4 days, the human ship moved without slowing, without speaking, without changing course. Every empire tracked it. Every leader watched it with shaking hands. Every weapon aimed at it stayed silent, remembering what happened to the blockade. But the ship was not coming for war. It was chasing something. And that something finally appeared. At the edge of the Council core, alarms began screaming across every world. Sensors glitched. Satellites shook. Gravity waves rolled like invisible storms. Commander Roller, still leading the combined fleet, saw the first shape emerge from the void, and he felt his breath stop. It was not a ship. It was not alive. It was not dead. It was something between everything, like the shadows of broken stars glued together. A massive, crawling darkness. Every scanner failed. Every reading collapsed. Even light seemed to bend around it. What is that? An officer whispered. Roller answered with a quiet horror. That is what the humans built the Guardian for. And the monster kept growing. On the ancient desert moon, Saran dropped the glowing sphere as it vibrated violently. It has arrived, the sphere said. The thing that devours suns. What do we do? Saran whispered. Nothing, the sphere replied. Only the Guardian can face it. But the Guardian cannot win. Unless the galaxy stops fighting it. Saran looked up at the sky. Stars were turning red, like they were bleeding. Back in the Council core, panic swallowed the Senate. What do we do? Should we attack the darkness? Should we run? Where is the human ship? Why isn't it fighting yet? A sudden tremor cut the arguments short. The human ship, the Guardian, arrived. It floated directly between the Council worlds and the spreading darkness, placing itself in the path like a silent shield. But this time it spoke. Not in anger. Not in warning. Not in disappointment. Its voice shook every mind in the system, ancient and powerful. Stay behind me. The Senate fell completely silent. The fleets froze. Even the darkness seemed to pause, as if recognizing an old enemy. For the first time, the Guardian activated fully. Lines of white light swept across its hull. Old symbols glowed. Energy fields bloomed around it like giant wings. The ship was waking up, and the galaxy felt the temperature of space rise, as if the Guardian itself were burning. Is it charging a weapon? An officer whispered. No, Roller said softly. It is the weapon. A beam of pure white light erupted from the Guardian and tore into the darkness. But the darkness did not explode. It absorbed the beam, swallowing the energy like it was hungry for more. Roller's heart dropped. It's feeding on the attack. The darkness pushed forward, growing, stretching, reaching toward the Council worlds behind the Guardian. The combined fleet panicked. We have to help it. Fire everything we have. Now. We can't let the Guardians stand alone. Thousands of weapons fired. Lasers, plasma, antimatter, ion bursts, lighting space with a storm of colors. But the darkness devoured those too. Kept growing. Kept reaching. Kept moving forward. Until it touched the Guardian's hull. And then, the stars went silent. Inside every mind, the Guardian spoke again. You cannot destroy what is not alive. But you can weaken its hunger. Realization spread across the fleet. If the darkness grew stronger by absorbing energy, then they had to stop feeding it. Ruller shouted, "Cease fire! Now! No weapons!" Thousands of ships stopped firing at the same moment. The battlefield became dark and still. The darkness paused, confused, shrinking slightly. The Guardian glowed brighter, brighter, brighter. Then opened something no one had ever seen before. A gate. A tear in space. A doorway to somewhere no one could understand. Somewhere beyond time. Somewhere meant only for monsters. The energy around the gate pulled the darkness like a tide pulling a drowning ship. The monster fought back, stretching claws of shadow toward the council worlds. The Guardian pushed harder, its hull vibrating, symbols cracking with strain. It was sacrificing itself. Ruller whispered, "It's trying to drag the darkness into the gate." And then the Guardian spoke one final time. "This is why we warned you. Do not repeat our mistake." A shockwave burst from the Guardian. The darkness screamed without sound. Space tore open, and the Guardian pulled the monster through the gate, locking both inside. The tear sealed behind them. Silence fell. The danger was gone. But so was the last human ship. The Guardian, the ancient protector, had saved the galaxy and disappeared forever. On the desert moon, Saran watched the sky return to normal. The sphere in his hand slowly dimmed. "Is it over?" he whispered. "For now," the sphere replied. "But the galaxy must choose its future. What do we do?" The sphere's final glow flickered. "Remember the warning." Then it went dark. Saran stood alone under a calm sky. The stars no longer fell. The fear no longer ruled. But the question remained. Would the galaxy learn from what happened? Or would it forget the sacrifice? Until the darkness returned again?